Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country on MKOCRadio.com. My guest tonight has a brand new CD called Can't Be Denied, and it certainly can't be denied that he is a tremendously talented individual, and it's nice to have him on the show to talk about the album and his career tonight. This is Mark Wayne Glasmire. Mark, how are you tonight?
Doing great, Scott. Thanks for the nice compliments.
Well, it's nice to have you on the show. I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you.
Well, the new CD is at markwayneglasmire.com. We'll have that information on our Facebook page, Can't Be Denied, and a new single out called I've Got A Feeling. And, Mark, I am when I listen to some of your songs on this album, I'm getting a little bit of Eagles and Gordon Lightfoot influence in there. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's very good. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. People always ask me, what's your genre? What's your style? I always say 70s folk rock, so that fits Gordon Lightfoot and the Eagles for sure.
Absolutely. Well, they those artists, they were always widely accepted in the country field too. So there is that crossover, but I think it's real music. It's people put to music, and it all fits together, in my opinion.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Well, before we talk about some of the songs on the album, I'd like to get a little bit of your history and your background. I know you had a CD out also a few years ago, so give me a little bit of your background and how you got into our wonderful world of music.
Sure. Well, I was originally from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So I'm a Yankee, even though I'm living in Texas now. But I grew up around music, had a very musical household. My mom and dad were both singers, and just in church and things like that. They weren't professional singers, but very, very talented. My mom she's 90 years old. She still has a voice like an angel.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but I grew up, Bethlehem was very rich, had a very rich musical heritage. Music was a big part of our education, even growing up in public schools. They still taught music as a class that you had to take. And
sure.
We sang in church, and it was just surrounded by it. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Bach Choir, but the Bach Choir is from Bethlehem, and it's a world-renowned choir that's they incredible music. And so anyway, I was always influenced by it. And of course, I grew up in the '60s, so during the true musical revolution, I think in the U.S. for sure. And so I grew up listening to music my whole life, fell in love with it at a really young age, and went on to. I got a guitar for Christmas one year and played around with it. Didn't really do that much with it in the beginning, but as I got older, I fell back in love with it and started playing little coffee houses and open mics and pretty much any place that would have me to play. And one thing led to another, and ended up playing in the folk scene up in New York City for a pretty long time, and started writing, and which led me to Nashville. And I lived in Nashville from 95 until 2005, and just following the dream, and got a couple records. Actually, I have 5 CDs, and I actually had an LP, believe it or not, back in a long time ago. And this is my most recent endeavor, and I've been playing for nonstop since I was in college, and always had a full-time job, but I also did music, and I just, I've had some success in Europe and the UK with some songs over there that have done quite well. I also had some here in the States. I had a couple at a top 40 on a Music Row chart in 2012, and kind of got away from the business part of it for a while and just went out and played and just had fun. Mm-hmm. And then, cut this new record, and it's one of those things where there's been times where I thought, well, maybe it's time to give it up. Maybe I should just stop. And something inside just goes, no, keep going. You've got to keep going. And I guess that's where the idea "Can't Be Denied" comes from. You just no matter no matter what, you just keep plugging away, and it's like, I just got to keep doing it. It can't be denied. It's in me.
Absolutely.
So that's a little bit about me.
Absolutely. You know, musicians, once it's in you, it's in you. And I've been a musician all my life. I've been in the retail end of it. I'm doing the DJ thing, and no matter what I do, music is always a part of it. And
Sure.
you certainly can't deny it. You got to embrace it. And you are one of the smart ones for always maintaining the day job. It's very, very hard to get a career off the ground and make a living at it. And having the day job allows you to afford you that time to be able to go out and perfect your music and continue to work on it, and get the stuff out there too.
It really does. I mean, it really does. It's like one feeds the other. So it's,
Yeah.
but I've been truly, I could say I'm lucky, but I think I've really been blessed in that way that I have a lot of musician friends that all they've ever done has been a musician, and sometimes the reality is you can't pay the bills just being a musician. You have to do something else, and some of these guys just aren't prepared to be anything but a musician, so it makes it a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate where I always worked, and again, that having that work and that steady paycheck made it easier to go out and do my gigs and really enjoy them.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I totally understand that. And we have a lot of overseas listeners, so I know a lot of them are going to be familiar with your music already. And the new CD is called Can't Be Denied. It's available at markwayneglasmire.com, also Amazon and CD Baby. And Mark, you're on Facebook too, I know. And
yes.
I'd like to ask you about your new single, I've Got a Feeling. You've got a video to go with this, and I believe this song is already near the top of the indie charts too.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well. In fact, it's actually number 3 over on a chart over in the UK right now. It's been holding number 3 for the last 2 weeks, and it's doing well here. And it's a song. It's a kind of a I write a lot of love songs, and it's a kind of a love at first sight song. Wrote it several years ago with a pal of mine, Debbie Champion, who's a writer in Nashville. And when I was still living there, we used to get together and write some stuff. And this is one we wrote. And it was one of those things where we were sitting around kind of in a session, and, small talk, just trying to get to know each other and see what's on our minds and trading ideas. And I don't know who said what to who, but it led somebody to say, I had a feeling you were feeling that feeling. And that's kind of what we built the song around. And it definitely has an early Eagle-ish feel to it, and I love it. The video came out really well. It's doing pretty well on YouTube right now, and so I'm very pleased with it. It's a song it's a feel-good song, and without being too corny. I think it's just a good song. So I'm really happy with it.
Absolutely, it's a great song. Now, did you write or co-write all the songs on this CD?
I did. Yep.
That's
Yep.
fantastic.
Some I either wrote or co-wrote. I think it's almost split. There's 12 songs on the. I think there's 12 songs. Well, there's 12 songs on the CD. And I think I wrote 7 of them myself, and the other 5 were co-writes. So.
I'm always curious when I talk to songwriters what your process is. Are you the type of person that will sit down and say, I'm going to write a song and do it, or do things kind of have to come to you and you just the inspiration strikes and you have to then write it down?
Well, I'm probably a combination of both those things. I've certainly experienced both. For me, I'm not real disciplined. Like some people sit down every day and they say, okay, from 7 in the morning until 9 o'clock, I'm going to write. No matter what it is, I'm going to crank out so many songs. I tend to be more of I can do that. Usually when I'm co-writing, it makes that part of the process becomes much easier. More disciplined that way. But usually what I have found is the songs that I've written over 100, but the songs that I've written that I really feel the best about, and I truly feel are the best, are songs that they just kind of come pouring out of you. I had one song where I was still living in Nashville, and I was riding down the highway on Interstate 40 from Nashville to Memphis. In fact, I had a gig at B.B. King's that night, and I'm driving down the highway early in the morning. I had a tablet on my steering wheel, and this song just came pouring out of me, and I wrote it down and kind of tweaked it on the way back. And shortly after that, it was recorded by somebody else, and that one was a gift. I probably have a handful that are that way, where it's like, okay, the universe says, okay, today I'm giving you this. This is your gift. Here it is, and it just, you wake up or you just start writing, and it just almost writes itself. And then the other part is where you get an idea, and you kind of sit there and you start to play it. I usually come up with the melody first, and then kind of write around the melody. And but sometimes you just have an idea, and you take the idea and kind of run with it. I just picked one up the other day. You never know where you're going to get an idea either. That's the other thing. I was talking to somebody, and they're talking about, oh, well, that's just good enough. And I said, well, because I get on my soapbox, like, we've become so mediocre in our society. We're willing to accept just about anything. And it's like, how about if we just say good enough is not good enough? So that's going to be my next song.
There you go.
Good enough.
I like it. I like it. That's a common thread I hear. I've talked to a lot of famous songwriters, people like Merle Haggard and Bill Anderson, Freddie Hart, and that's one thing that they all say is that the really good songs seem to come really, really fast.
Yeah. That's certainly been my experience. It's when you get one like that, they're special. They're really special, and I'm convinced that they're a gift from heaven. So they're pretty special.
I believe that too, absolutely. Well, I want to ask you about a few songs on the CD, some ones that kind of stand out for me. First of all, the title song.
Can't Be Denied, yeah. I co-wrote that with my buddy Lucas P. Gravel. He lives in Nashville, and we had this idea. We're kind of playing on each other's experiences with, being in relationships. And sometimes you just meet somebody for the first time, but you feel like you've known them your whole life. Mm-hmm. And that's where this idea, we both experienced that, where we'd met people that we thought, well, I must know you from another life or something. And, where it can't be denied. I mean, this is just the way it's supposed to be, and that's where that came from.
That's cool.
Lucas and I have written several songs together, and this one was I had actually had the music to it. I'd already had the riff to it, and then we thought, man, this is pretty special.
I mentioned earlier I've done pretty much all facets of music, and the one common thread that I will always be most proud of, it's all the wonderful people that I've met and got to work with over the years, and you forge a bond with music that it's very hard to describe, but people that are in the business understand it. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've really been blessed that way too. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear that, but somebody's trying to call on my phone there. But I have had that. I've had truly a blessing to have been working with some really super good people, and I mean, it's just truly joyful people that are just glad to be alive and be happy with what they're doing, and not looking for a whole lot, just wanting to make their way through the world and give something back, and it's just all good. That's really cool. Good.
That's really cool. Tell me about the song "Out of the Frying Pan." This is one of my favorites on the CD.
Out of the Frying Pan. Out of the Frying Pan is one of the few songs that I've written that's not true. That's not a true experience. Certainly not my experience. But it's kind of it's a fun song. I co-wrote it with a guy I met years ago. Back, literally, it was one of my first co-writes ever. Even before I moved to Nashville, I met this guy through Nashville Songwriters Association, and I got involved with them when I was still back in Pennsylvania. And I used to go to the seminars they'd have. They have these big seminars a couple times a year, and I'd travel out there and meet different writers and things. And we were actually in they have a song camp that you have to be selected to be. You have to submit stuff, and then they select you to be in the camp. And right. It's always put on by, some top writers. And the year I was there, it was like some of my favorite writers. It was Hugh Prestwood and Angela Cassett, and Ralph Murphy was there, and I'm trying to think who was the other. Oh, John Ems, who had just come off some really big hits, and anyway, we were out there and they're teaching us their technique, how they write songs, and which was really good. I mean, talk about an education.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, one of the things was I met this guy, Craig Holland, and we were both out there, enrolled in the class and doing the song camp, and one thing led to another, and we stayed in touch over the years and wrote this song. And it was, I think he's one actually came up with the idea, and then we just kind of ran with it. But it's a fun song. It's it's meant to be fun. It's not meant to to be condoning any type of behavior or anything like that. I've already been
well said.
Told it once. I can't believe you would write something like that. Well, all right, I thought it was fun.
It's a good. I like
it. Video on that. That may be one of that. Right now, we're trying to pick the next single, and that may be the next single because I've already kind of written like a little bit of an outline for a video that would be definitely tongue in cheek, and it would be meant to be funny and light, and yet it's a good fast song. It's I think people will really like it.
It's got my vote. That's for sure. I like that.
All right, great.
Well, a lot of great songs on this album. It's called Can't Be Denied. You can get it at markwayne.glasmire.com, Amazon, and CD Baby also, and catch up with Mark on Facebook. And Mark, I know you were at Poor David's Pub down there in Dallas, and you had a kind of a release party there recently. And tell me some of the other things you've got on the horizon.
Right. Well, it was Poor David's is one of my favorite places in Dallas to play. It says it's Poor David's Pub, which is really not. It's really not a pub. It's a little misleading because it's really a listening room. It's one of the best small listening rooms in Texas. In fact, I would even wager beyond Texas. It's a really good room, and the sound system's fantastic. And anyway, did that. I've got another gig coming up this weekend here in Texas, and be getting ready to shoot another video for the next single, yet to be determined. Although we got one vote for Out of the Frying Pan,
that's right.
So we'll take that to heart. And gearing up for stuff. Gearing up to set up our next campaign for 2019. I'm going to be playing in Mexico, and usually I get a couple gigs in Canada, and of course throughout the United States. So I'm just in the beginning of putting all that together, but it's shaping up pretty well. I'd love to get over to England as well, the UK. That's yet to be determined, but it's kind of looking good. Like we may be able to put some dates together over there. I also got getting a ton of airplay in New Zealand.
That's great. We have a lot of listeners over there.
There's been talk of that, about getting over there to do a few shows over there. So we'll see. But it's shaping up very nicely. And I've been kind of out of the commercial side of it for a while. So my last CD was out in 2012, and just released this again. Even though I've been out performing, wasn't really hitting it really very hard. And now with this new project, it's all picking back up again. So really trying to get some momentum and take it from there.
Well, that's great. Well, the material is fantastic, and it's definitely worthy of getting out there and letting the folks know about it. And do keep me posted if you end up doing a Canadian tour. We have a gentleman in Canada that does a radio show with us, and we'll be sure to get that, help spread the word for you and promote that for you. Absolutely. Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. I'm going to play some of the songs off your new album for our listeners. And again, folks, it's markwayne.glasmire.com. The new CD is Can't Be Denied, and you can also get it at Amazon and CD Baby. Mark, thank you so much for being on My Kind of Country. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, Scott, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Been such a long, long time since I felt like this. I can hardly wait to be with you again. Every time you hold my hand or give me your sweet kiss, I don't want this feeling to ever end. I've got a feeling that you're feeling this feeling. You don't have to say it, I can see it's true. The love's so strong, we'll never stop believing. I've got a feeling you're feeling this feeling too. I'd never fall again until I met you. You've got a love that caught me by surprise. In each other